For any of you who might be unfamiliar how City Council works, it serves as our policymaking body and helps the municipality to achieve its goals around strategic planning, what kinds of infrastructure projects we'll complete, how we will grow our community, use our land, and perhaps most importantly, how we will spend our money. Let me say that again. How we will spend our money, okay? So I think this is important because for me, I think about if someone wants to go into my pockets, I want to know where that's going. I want to know that it's being spent well, and I want to know how it's benefiting me and my community. So through the work that I'm already doing as a community member, I hope that you will see what I stand for and what is important to me by the actions that I'm taking. More than the stances I hold, I want you to understand the process for how you can expect me to represent you no matter what comes up, because I don't know what's going to come up in the future, but I want you to trust that I will still go through a process that will involve you. I believe in collaboration and listening to the lived experiences of the population. I believe in participatory governance and social, economic, and environmentally sustainable practices. I believe in transparency and accountability. I believe in solutions that are focused on root causes and that help us to progress toward economic democracy and community liberation. But I haven't seen this from council as a whole. For example, when I became involved in the work surrounding affordable housing and anti-gentrification during the International Village debacle, I witnessed a council that seemed to dismiss the voices of residents. I saw dysfunction, finger pointing, and a focus on how residents shared their concerns instead of what they shared. A central concern that residents shared during council meetings and in public hearings was around how unaffordable Ypsilanti is becoming. As a bit of a nerd, I want to share a few numbers with you to illustrate why we need to take this issue seriously. Washtenaw County is ranked in the bottom 8% of United States counties for upward mobility. Not just Michigan, not just the Southeast region, of the United States. Bottom 8%. Upward mobility, by the way, is for geographical differences in upward mobility are strongly correlated with segregation, income inequality, local school quality, and social capital. So when you think about what's going on in Ypsilanti, we can see what that might look like here. We have the most expensive rental market in Michigan. And Ypsilanti's population is made up of approximately 70% renter. With an average household income of roughly $27,000 to $33,000, depending on family status, and with many renters paying more than 30% of their income on housing, increases in rent should put our community in crisis mode. Ward 3 has a large population of renters. So when I hear stories from future constituents about having to choose between their mental health and having a roommate, or the fact that they are unable to save for home ownership because of a lack of funds, and the continual increase in cost of buying a house in this market, it motivates me to help our community realign our priorities and to look for solutions that carry us past the status quo. So I got involved. I got involved in the Fit Affordable Ypsi. I was a founding member of Rising for Economic Democracy in Ypsi, which is working on creating a community benefits ordinance here for Ypsilanti, which is cutting edge because so far Detroit's the only city that has a community benefits ordinance. I applied for and was appointed to the Planning Commission's Subcommittee for Affordability and Accessibility. I am not satisfied with the way things work or the way things are. as I meet more and more Ypsilantians, from the millennials that we have in our city to the boomers that we have, from lifelong residents who have been here for generations to new folks like me who came here because they were drawn to Ypsilanti's history and to our unique personality, I am building relationships with people across the spectrum who want to adjust our trajectory to be more in line with the future that we want to see. I believe we can do it. We can be a model for how to address the needs of all of our residents while also improving the economic realities of the city and the people. We can try new things. We can learn from the past and from other places that are also trying out different things. We can inform and mobilize more people to advocate for their interests. I believe that I have the work ethic and skill set as an educator, a facilitator, and a community organizer, as well as the idealistic energy to help us get there. So I ask you to join me in my quest to help move Ypsilanti into our next stage, and I'm happy to answer a couple of questions. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions they have for me? Well,
Des, can you tell us a little more about the process?
yes, in terms of the process for the campaign, the process for...
The decision-making process that you want to go through in...
Yes. So for me, when I think about the process for decision making, my first place to go is to the folks, to people who are experiencing different challenges in the city, to folks who might be stakeholders in different ways, having those conversations and allowing people to tell me first, what is the issue? What does it look like in their everyday lived lives? And then based on, for thinking about, I might have access to other things that are happening in the city, being able to share back out, not only what I'm hearing from people, but also, okay, well, this is the barriers. This is what things look like here. Here are what we're working on to make sure that everyone has the information that they need. So that's first step, is information gathering, information sharing. And then it's looking at examples of what things might be happening in other places, looking at other municipalities that might have similar demographics that we have in Ypsi, and trying to see where we can maybe kind of pick up some of what is already happening. But I also want to say that it's not for me all about just following examples of what things are, because a lot of times people are afraid to try something new because they don't have numbers to back it up. The fact of the matter is that as a country, as a society, as a state, as a city, that we have not been doing a good job of actually addressing the issues that we have, because I feel like we are too afraid to try something new. And so for me, it's a lot of researching and saying, here's what this could look like. What we're doing now isn't working really well. What does it look like if we actually try and pilot something else? And then having feedback processes with residents to say, this is working, this isn't working, or these are the concerns. Because sometimes it might be, this sounds really good, but X, right? So, or like, this sounds great, but I'm still concerned about how this will impact my property taxes. Or this sounds good, but and so trying to think about what are these real concerns that we should be addressing, and making sure that we're being transparent in terms of implementation as we go, and that we're continually actually measuring, thinking about what does success look like, and that we keep checking back on that. And if it's not moving forward, that we don't just keep doing it because we've said that we're going to.
Gotcha.
Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. So just sounds like real responsive and, I don't know what the right word for this is, solicitive of the constituency.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, my job as a representative is to represent my constituents, right? I, of course, have lots of ideas, and I will be sharing, I would, share those, like, here's what I think about this. But then people might say, no, Desiraé, that's not what's important, right? And I want to be able to be responsive to those too.
Yeah, sure.
Preston?
Can you tell us about running as a non-partisan candidate?
Yes. So for those of you who don't know, I'm running as a nonpartisan candidate, which is both really exciting for me and also really scary because all of the feedback I get from people is that I cannot win as a nonpartisan here. That's because since the 70s, only Democrats have been elected here in Ypsilanti. And from what I hear, sometimes people run as Democrats, whether they are or not. And also, even though we have only had Democrats here, we still have challenges around gentrification, income inequality, poor circumstances, poor living environments for renters, which, as I said, are 70% of our community. We still are seeing privatization happening at EMU. And so these are issues that I think we need to be addressing, and I don't know that the lack of competition within the parties is actually helping us to get to the best ideas. So that's one piece. The second thing is that I recognize, as a person who's lived here, I've lived here for 4 winters, I've been here for 4 winters, and so I want to also have as much time as possible to get to know folks, for people to get to know me. I don't want people's first time interacting with me necessarily to be when I knock on their door asking them for a vote. I want them to see me out in the community doing things. Because I know, especially as a nonpartisan candidate, that what I say is not as important as what I do. So having the time to do that would be amazing. And so I'll be on the November ballot, which is also so full of so many things going on here. And I want to be also part of trying to drive more voters to the polls and helping to talk about what's on that ballot. And so that's the kind of third reason, is that it makes it easier for me messaging wise to be able to talk about what's happening in November if I'm on the November ballot. Does that answer? Thanks. Matt?
So some of the issues you want to fix, there's many issues that you can take care of at the city level. There's also many more that require assistance from the state or the federal government.
Yes.
How do you plan on collaborating with your state rep and state senator and your congressional representative and U.S. senator?
Oh, that's so important. I like that you brought that up. I believe in general that many of the issues that we are struggling with here in Ypsilanti are actually regional issues as well as statewide. So I would be working with folks on the county, at the county level, across Washington County, as well as at the state level too. This is one of the reasons, as I was saying, why it's so important to me to be able to be on the November ballot, so I can talk about these connections, how what we do at the local level depends on what's happening at the state. When we think about what's happening with housing prices here and the city's burden to try to raise funds, part of this is because the state is reneging on the deal that they made to to revenue share. And so I think it's so important that we have state representatives that we have direct access to, and that will go to bat for the needs of what we have going on here. Because if we get more money from the state, that means that we don't have as much pressure to raise property taxes, which means that then we could better focus on the needs of our community. And also, as I said, this is a county issue, so we need to be thinking about how do we best leverage our resources across the county. Ypsilanti, Willow Run, we are much lower income than other areas in the county, but there are folks in those areas that also see how we are connected. And so I would like to connect with representatives in the townships, representatives in some of these other areas to say, how do we come together around this? What's happening in your community? And there's already different programs happening. There's already folks looking at what equity can look like in Washtenaw, and I think that we should be at the table of those conversations. Any other questions? Well, thank you. I will be milling about. If you want to just talk one-on-one, I'm happy to talk to you. Also, just in general, so we have a website page that you can visit that will be continually, we want our website to be really interactive. So it's DesiraéForYpsi.com. And also we have a Facebook page that you can like and follow. We also have an Instagram, Desiraé for Ypsi. And so you can keep... Yeah, Desiraé #4 Ypsi. So you can keep...
Website, right?
The website is not the number 4. And so you can keep track of us there. And I also want to just introduce members of the campaign team, which is continually growing. So we have, Joe introduced himself. He's one of our campaign co-managers. We have Danielle here. We have Heather here, who behind you here, just if you can hold up the, yes, that. So this is, Heather's put this together. So if folks want to host, connect and create with Desiraé, then at your house, we have a toolkit here of things that you can do. And so you can sign up to host one of those. And Heather can also share a lot more about what that looks like. So that's over there. We have my mother here, Darlene. She is our treasurer. We have my husband there, Xander, and who is many things, but also helps to make sure that Indigo is not going to run into the street during an event. She would naturally do that. We also have had great volunteers already. We have Nick here, who's videoing, but he also created the website, which is amazing, so I encourage everyone to go and visit it. And then we also have Annie over there, who's working on some screen print projects, which I can't wait to show you little tidbits. It'll be coming out on Instagram at some point. So, yes. So that's it. Thank you.